Masechet Yevamos, third chapter. This is Rabbi Shteinsaltz's writings, translated by humble me. In the book of Devarim, that's Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 5, it says, Ki yeshvu achim yachdav umet echad mehem uben ein lo lo tieh eshet ames achutza leish zar v'vama yavo aleha udkacha lo leisha v'yibma. So that means when two brothers are dwelling together, sitting together, two brothers, and one of the brothers dies, and he didn't have a son, the wife of the deceased should not go to any other man outside of the family, but rather one of his brothers, the brother or one of the brothers, should become a yibum, a yavam, and do yibum, the Leveritic marriage, and he should come upon her, meaning have sexual relations with her, and take her as a wife, and do the Leveritic marriage, perform the Leveritic marriage, the yibma. So, in the previous two chapters in this tractate of the Talmud, we discussed the various laws in the category of Yibum, and we discussed them as separate laws, but here we're going to show the relationship between these laws and how they interplay with each other and affect each other. And we're going to explain the halacha l'maaseh in various places. So all these things are based on principles that have already been explained in the previous chapters, but rather part and parcel with this we're going to be explaining what the law, if a yibum, if two women, two sisters fall to yibum to two brothers. In other words, you have four brothers, and one of the brothers is married to one sister, and another one of the brothers is married to the other sister, two sisters. And the two brothers who are married to the sisters die, and what do the remaining brothers do? It's a tricky situation. So there's different familial relations between these women and their intended ones. So in analyzing and going deeply into these combinations of possibilities, there's a very strong need to explain what's the real quality, nature of this connection between the Yavam and the Yevama, between the brother and the widow of his brother. So that's called Zika. Is there Zika or is there not Zika? Now, what's Zika? Zika is a strong, very close connection. So if you say that from our writings, it's very clear that the Yevama is the widow is locked into a certain situation, and she can't get married to anybody else until she releases herself from the obligation to do yibum. Indeed, in the Torah, there's no such definition as Zika. It doesn't appear in the words of the Torah. It doesn't explain as something a real issue in the based on the we have the verses in the Torah, and then there was the sages of the Talmud sat down and said, hey, did that mean that there's the woman with the dead brother's wife is she can't marry anybody else? She just has to. She's forbidden to any other man until either the brother decides to do yibum, or he decides that they go to the courtroom and do chalitza by spitting in the shoe. you're not allowed to spit in shul. However, you are allowed, unless you're a Chabadnik, and in that case I would do it very with great trepidation. I pretend to spit in shul. I do not actually spit in shul, depending on what shul. But the Ramah says very clearly it's forbidden to spit in shul. The Lubavitcher Rebbe used to spit in shul and during the Leinu, and the Chabadnikim will bend over backwards to explain to you why he would do that. And let's say you don't spit in shul. You're not supposed to spit in a holy place. You're supposed to keep a holy place clean, like even more than you keep your living room. You're supposed to keep your living room clean. You're supposed to keep the shul clean, right? So, but it's okay to spit in court. If you go to court, you can spit, but you have to spit into a shoe. So you can't spit on Har HaBayit. We'll do it. Look, this is not the laws of spitting here. We'll do a separate bli neder. We'll do a separate unit on the halacha of spitting. However, not now. So the question is there zika or is there not? Yesh zika or en zika? So okay. En zika means okay. The woman can't marry anyone else until the yavam either has relations with her or refuses, and so the relations part is just the way that instead of the chuppah ceremony they would cohabit, but he's going to have to be her husband and take care of her. It's not just God forbid. So God forbid it's not just indulging his desires. So that's why nowadays because it's such a holy thing, such a holy thing, that it's very easy to, in such a situation where the brother the brother sees the woman and he wants to indulge his pleasure, rather than do it in the utmost purity, which is it's something that has a great level of purity associated with it. So for that reason, most of the rabbis and poskim have opted for doing it chalitza if such a situation occurs. These cases happen all the time. It's a modern issue. It's something that's done in modern halacha, and it's been done for 2,000, 3,000 years now. And so it happens. However, I heard the Mordechai Eliyahu, the Rishon LeZion in Betzalel and Rosh Hash's yahrzeit, he was talking. You should live long and be well. Mordechai Tzemach ben Mazal, Shrefuah Shlema, live long and be well and be strong. And Simcha is the best healing. You should be happy. So I heard the Rishon LeZion talking a few years back about basically the Kabbalists say to do Yibum, but the halachists, the mainstream rabbis, the straight arrow rabbis, say to do Chalitza. And I asked one of the straight arrow rabbis at the Kotel why this is so, and he said because it has to be done in the utmost purity, and most people are on the level of doing Yibum. So there's yesh zika or en zika, or yesh zika, meaning that the moment that the brother dies, the living brother cannot marry anyone else. Any of the other relatives of that sister. Of the widow, of the Yevamos. He can't, even though he doesn't have to go and do Yibum, he can't go ahead and marry any of her relatives who are forbidden to him, according to the laws of Arayos. Okay, that's the question, Yesh Zika and Zika, and I believe our time is up.